Hey everyone, welcome back to Automation. So as the channel gets closer to 25,000 subscribers, I just want to remind you of this tweet. I am serious about that. It's going to be good if it happens, and if it doesn't, I'll come up with some other goal that we can achieve to somehow get a Yugo. So my cars recently haven't exactly been good. In fact, most of them have been quite interesting, to say the least. So I decided today let's do another very interesting vehicle. The only premise I have today is Miata and V16. We'll just go with that. Now I've come up with a bit of a solution for this because normally a V16 isn't going to fit in this body. But what if we do the smallest possible V16 and then attempt to put it in here and see, I don't know, what kind of power we can get out of it without spamming quality sliders? Like, that sounds like fun to me. So we're going to go ahead with steel, monocoque steel. It's probably going to be pretty heavy. Don't worry about that yet. We will fix that if we need to. And then just double wishbone. Pretty standard stuff. Of course, we need a new engine, but as you can see, a V16 just does not simply fit in here. If we just click magnesium, this is an 8-liter V16, and it is way, way too big. So we'll take out front-wheel drive because it's not going to be front-wheel drive. Actually, it's going to be rear-wheel drive. Let's just shrink this all the way. It is currently 1.571 cc's. And I'm going to make this out of high-quality materials because I have another goal in mind. I don't know if we're actually going to be able to achieve it, but I figure we may as well try. Oh yeah, here's the other part. We can lower the displacement even further, down to 1 liter. This is a 1 liter V16. Now I'm honestly questioning if this is even going to work. 1 liter V16 does not sound reasonable, so it's not going to make good power by any means, but we'll just try and give it our best here. Twin turbos, I don't know if that's even a good idea. Maybe. But of course it's going to be direct injection, per cylinder, race intake. We want to make good power, pretty much as good as we can make, even with something as dumb as this. The turbos are so tiny on there, the exhaust manifolds are massive in comparison. This is going to work out really well, I can already tell. Alright, with no muffling, we make a very nice 100 horsepower, but having such low stroke, yeah, I did remember that again, but we do have low bore as well. We should be able to get pretty high up into the RPM limit. And then we also have very high quality components, so we could potentially get up to 12,000 RPM without having any issues, and that's what I'm going to try to do. Now, to be honest, this isn't exactly going to be easy. As of right now, things are not exactly looking great in the 12,000 RPM front as we make peak power down at the 7,400 RPM mark, which is not low at all, but still only 171 horsepower. I have been able to do this before using the Tradex as an example. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it again though. Oh, that is a really funky curve there, but I have managed to get the RPMs and the power to go up a little bit. We are making a reasonable amount of power, 150 something at 12,000 RPM. I don't know if this is going to work. So I've spent a few minutes tuning this monstrosity, and I have managed to make some serious turbo lag, but also 247 horsepower. The dream of 12,000 RPM seems to be a little bit out of reach, so I'm going to go ahead and lower that down. It doesn't need to be up that high, but we do have quite a high rev range. We're actually all the way up to, we're going to end up being around 9,000 by the time this is over, but our peak power is at 8,500. That isn't too bad. It's not great, especially through here. That is some ridiculous turbo lag, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. This is going to be one weird car, no doubt about that. If you're wondering about the tune, this is what I've done. The VVL profile is all the way up and the cam profile is about halfway. That mostly controls what's down here, because if I mess with this, then that kind of goes up a little bit, but I don't know, having it around half seems to be the best compromise between the two. Moving over here, I've just made the turbo as big as it can be. It can't be very big because the engine displacement is not very big, and this game restricts that, unfortunately, so that's where we're at there. In terms of fuel and stuff, it's just the best components, and then a lot of timing. It's very highly advanced. And of course, we're not going to be using any mufflers or anything like that. We'll just go all the way through. And then this is going to be really loud. So yeah, that's not looking too bad. Like, everything seems to be good in the torque and RPM areas. Nothing is breaking, which I guess comes with using high quality components. But one thing is for sure, the fuel economy on this is going to be hot garbage. But I'm pretty used to that, especially after the last thing I made. I think it was like 90 something liters per 100 kilometers. So just set that as a benchmark for fuel economy in my case. And now I never actually do convertibles, so I'm going to go ahead and do it this time. Now this is very obviously a Miata chassis, but yeah, you know what? Let's just leave it like that. I'm not going to end up designing it like a Miata though, let's be real. And I'm going to just quickly go ahead and skip to rear wheel drive, and it'll be a manual as well, but I just want to see that engine in there. Yikes. Okay, I took away the hood and you can just see the massive V16. Well, massive is relative in this case. It's a 1 liter, but it does fit in with those frame rails pretty nicely. It could basically replace a Miata engine in there. No issues at all. I think this is the only car I'll actually paint red ever. Most of my cars are not red in the slightest, mostly because it's the default color in the game, and I'm just kind of weary of using that. So we'll just end up painting this one a nice red like that. Plastic trim makes sense. I'm thinking for style this car is actually going to be pretty normal. Probably not too out there, as I have done in the past. I made the wheels a nice aluminum color, we might come back to change that. And then the misc paint will end up changing the brakes to be black. Probably not going to be able to see them. And the soft top, let's make that a cloth black as well. Now, like I said before, this body is a Miata, but that doesn't mean I'm going to actually style it like a Miata. I'm going to take my own method here and just kind of add to things. I don't know what's going to happen though. Sometimes I make stuff that I like, and most of the time I make stuff that I don't. So we'll see what I can do this time. So after spending about 5 minutes on these wheels, I've come up with these ones here. I kind of like the way that they look with the black cap in the center. Probably will end up changing the size of those, definitely in terms of width, but we'll get to that in a bit. Now, you would probably think that this car needs pop-ups. However, I'm going to try to design it off of the new style Miata, but also my own imagination, and therefore it's going to be totally different. I think this car is an excellent candidate for these lights. They are used on quite a few of my builds, but they just look perfect pretty much on this car. I think they're just a slight bit too big, but other than that, they should fit nicely. And then weirdly as well, the Miata has a bit of a grin to it, so let's come up with an artistic interpretation of that. No, it's a little happy. Okay, as awkward as that is, I do like the look of it, and I'm also thinking about doing black trimmed pieces on here as well. This look is actually coming together pretty well. It's not too hard to just kind of make this car work. And of course, I always like doing this. I'm going to put a chin spoiler on it as well, which will help with our aero later on. We do want to keep this thing on the road, at least somewhat. Okay, now it looks like I'm putting some kind of body kit on the car, and I guess I am. This is like a ground effect spoiler. That is pretty significant. Alright, I'm liking the way that this is going. I made this a little bit smaller, and the car overall is looking like a car. That's a good sign. Let's bring out some more personalized design language and just kind of put these lights here somewhere just to fill up this big empty space that doesn't really need to be there. Oh yeah, that actually looks really nice as well. Goodness, it's coming together slowly. Alright, so for this one I figure I may as well go ahead and do a bunch of small details as well, just because, well, I have time, so why not give it a shot. I do have some stuff like hood pins, which is really cool, but maybe we'll save that for a track version of this later on. But for now, I'm thinking we may as well add some wipers. Okay, this body is not very good at accepting them, but that'll kind of work. There's a bit of a lip there, which makes it a bit awkward, but yeah, that seems to work just nicely right there. Alright, time for mirrors. Again, trying to invoke the actual style of the car here. We'll just put on some big truck mirrors, that'll work. Oh, these are a bit too classic perhaps. Maybe something a touch smaller. Mirrors are actually more difficult than it seems, just because you can take a good looking car and then just totally screw it up by putting the wrong mirrors on it, but hopefully these ones work. I'll just kind of sit on them for a bit and see if I like them. And then we'll move on to some of the other parts. Oh yeah, I was thinking of putting one of these on this car as well, if we needed to. In this case we don't, thankfully, just because, well, the engine actually fits, despite being a little bit too big. I don't know, that does add something to it, even if it's reversed. Okay, we need to settle on some door handles for this car. Now we could go for stuff like this or like this. I think classic Miata door handles are actually like this, but the more modern cars, I don't think they have them. Maybe we can just go with something that looks the part. And then this being a Japanese car, I'm going to put the fuel cap on this side. Some people might say that it's the wrong side, but this is automation, okay? It doesn't really matter. It's all just aesthetic. There we go. That's coming along really nicely. I did end up putting a bump on the hood, but it's a little bit lower. I think it looks good though. I think it kind of just adds a little bit more texture to a spot that would otherwise be just very plain and simple. Alright, back end time. Now here's the part where we ruin it by not putting on the correct backlights, because I don't exactly know what they are. So I'm just gonna have to fake it in here. So the biggest challenge with this one is just coming up with a shape that I like, because we can add just bulbs where we want them, pretty much. So even if I can't find one in the regular taillights, I can probably find something here, and then just kind of put some actual lights in it and make that work. Usually that works out okay. Goodness, that was difficult. So after much deliberation, I've decided I think I'm gonna go with these ones here. However, I do want to change up the colors a little bit, because it's just a little bit too bright. There's so much chrome. And now, keeping in mind that this is a V16 car, it's got to have some sort of unique features on it, at least some sort of like sport features on there somewhere. So I'm going to go ahead and put a diffuser on it. It might not make total sense, but yeah, we'll just kind of fake it in again. Seems to be what I'm doing a lot of lately. So I'm a big fan of these like cut back ends. It doesn't make a lot of sense now that it's cutting through the actual body as well, but yeah, I'll try to fix that. I just like the like high back bumper and a lot of rear wheel exposed look for a race car, at least. I don't know why. The last dream car that I made had a lot of that, and it was pretty cool. Again, just in my opinion. Alright, now that we have a diffuser on the back here, actually I'm going to make that, you know what, we'll make it dark, why not? Let's put some exhaust on this car before we forget. Let's make sure that it's a double exhaust, and then of course, it's going to be coming out both sides, because this thing is dual. Okay, never mind, that sticks out a little bit too much. It's just, it doesn't make any sense at all. Why the heck does this even exist? Okay, that's way better. So I switched the diffuser and the exhaust doesn't stick out as bad. I guess that's just the style of it. And this is a stock piece, so I don't know. I guess that just makes it work a little bit nicer. Overall though, car's looking pretty good. It's almost done. So I'm in a significant debate with myself right now over whether or not I should add a wing to this car. The wings are, some are good, some are bad, most of them are bad, but there are a few that sort of do fit the style that we could get away with potentially. I was thinking of maybe adding something like this. Like, that wouldn't be too far out of the way. It's not great, but it's not horrible either. I don't know, I'll have to come back to that and see. I tried to be smart with the badge by putting the lock for the key, or for the trunk in there. I'm just using the automation badge on this car, you might have noticed, but yeah, maybe that's a bit of ingenuity right there. And I think we can go ahead and label this as an unnamed concept for now. It is the V16 high-revving red Miata thing, I don't know. So we've got rear-wheel drive, manual, 6-speed, probably going to need a bit more speed out of it. 271 is pretty fast. I've got a geared LSD in there, I'm not sure if we're going to go electric or not, but we'll leave that for now. I currently have it sitting on radial semi-slicks and 205s, which are a bit small. I'm thinking we probably go up to at least 220s, possibly 225, just to be able to stay on the road. That would be a good thing. And then I think we're going to need a bit more offset on both of these as well, which is going to add weight, but it should be okay. And of course the brakes, we'll just make them vented discs, probably 4 piston on the front and 2 piston on the back. That would make sense. And then under tray will go semi-clad, with none of that, but a bit of brake airflow. Hopefully this works. So it's going to be a 2-seater with a sport interior and premium infotainment. I guess we're going semi-realistic here, and I don't know, advanced 20s safety. Ooh, nice. Convertible sport budget 114.7, that is a 66% right there. Not bad at all. We're getting into the oversteer category, which again, not too bad. Just click a race preset real quick. And the car's looking nice and low as well. Seems like things are going pretty good here. Drivability, unfortunately, is pretty far down, though. We'll have to fix that. And just so we can see, oh yeah, 9.6 liters? That's actually better than the car I drive every day, goodness. Actually, that's surprisingly good, all things considered. I mean, it is only a 1 liter, but it does make a lot of power. It has 2 turbos, and it is also a V16, so 9.6 liters per 100 kilometers? Hey, I'll take it. Right, so the easiest way to fix this is usually just with wheel width. You can see the wheels are a little too big on the front and the back. Actually, the backs are going to end up being a little bit bigger. That's better right there. We're still in the oversteer territory, but that isn't a huge deal. So it weighs 1,488 kilos, which is actually quite a bit. I think we might end up needing to adjust some things back here. Let's see if we can find something that's reasonable and also lighter. So I've gone for a partial aluminum chassis, Hopefully that'll help a little bit. I mean, it's only knocked off like 30 kilos, but that'll do something, I guess. It's better than nothing, that's for sure. And yeah, we're still in the oversteer category, which is fine. I think I'm okay with that. The front wheels need to be just a little bit smaller, but it's like way too small compared to the back, so I don't know. It looks like we're going to end up having really tiny wheels in this car. Well, would you look at that? The brakes are actually plenty strong enough. We're just going to have to increase the back just a little bit. So we got 210s on the front, 175s on the back. That is perfect. And then over here, downforce, we're currently making a little bit of downforce, not much. That's okay as well. Just ignore that understeer graph. We won't worry about that. Everything in here looks fine. And I think we might be good to try this thing out in Beam. So I figured it was okay to go ahead and give it a name, and I think we may as well give it a try. Hopefully this car drives well. I'm very interested to try this high revving V16 in Beam and see if it actually works or not. Hopefully it does. I don't know though. Sometimes weird engines like this don't. Anyway, let's try it. Alright, so here's what the car looks like in Beam, but before we get to that, let me talk about today's sponsor. Oh wait, it's the people who hit the join button. I'll tell you more about that later. Anyways, this car has a few ups and downs, so I figured we may as well go over those things now. Interestingly, it actually does drive pretty well, once you get it moving, that is. Having such a tiny engine, it's surprisingly fast. It's not really that light, unfortunately. We could have made it lighter just with some material tweaks at the beginning, but decided against that for realism's sake. However, a 1-liter V16 isn't exactly realistic. So my design idea when making this engine was that I wanted to make something that revved high and that was the smallest V16 possible. And I think I achieved both of those things. It revs really high, it goes all the way up to 9,000, and it is indeed the smallest V16 possible at 1 liter. However, that does come with a couple of drawbacks. The biggest one being it has 0 low-end torque. Like, at the beginning, you saw the curve, it is horrendously slow. You really have to stay in the power if you want this thing to be fast. Interestingly, the turbo lag is also an issue. I guess that's not too much of a surprise. But if you start from a dead stop like that, then you're going to have problems. And then when you go around most of these corners, if you want to shift, you'll get into second gear. And then you'll just kind of run out of power because there's none down low in second gear. So it's not really geared well either. But that sort of lends itself to a comparison that I want to make between this car and possibly another car that I have. We might try some track runs and see how they compare, but this car feels like a rotary, or it feels like what I would expect a rotary to feel like. No low-end power, but it has a lot of good power up high. It is a V16, so that really doesn't make any sense compared to rotaries, but yeah, it seems to have those sort of characteristics. Either way, I'm enjoying it. I think the red is a little bit brighter than I thought now that it's in Beam. Maybe it's just the coloring of this map, but I'm just using a controller, I'm just driving around. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm just going to keep driving around this course a little bit here and there. We'll try to do a couple more laps and try to demonstrate some of its interesting issues. You'll probably be able to see what I'm talking about. Like, when I'm up in the power like this, high up into the RPMs, like past 6,000, I do have good power, but as soon as you have to downshift and you're not going downhill like there, it just kind of runs out of power unless you're going down into first gear. But first gear is pretty long, so I guess that does kind of balance out around some slower corners. However, it's just, it's a little bit slower than I would have anticipated. Alright, so let's compare this car to the Tradex, which is much, much shinier, because I didn't know much about paints back in this day. But I don't know, I have a bit of a trick now for it. Either way, this car has more power. It goes up to 12,000 RPM, and it is indeed a rotary style inline 3, which with 12,000 RPMs to mess with, yeah, this car is pretty fun. And oh boy, it is a little bit bouncy as well. I have a suspicion that this car is lighter, so that in itself with the more power means it's going to be faster, but they're both rear-wheel drive, they're both, I don't know, small cars I guess. This one is supposed to be an RX-7-ish kind of thing, and that other car is a Miata, so they do have that sort of heritage, at least in my mind. This one is definitely much more of a handful, and because it has, well, it's got a lot of RPM, it also has a lot of wheel spin. And the power, especially on this dirt, is not nice. Oh, there we go. It does not like these bumps, even slightly. Okay, one thing I will say about this car is it handles the low RPM a lot better. Now this inline 3 is supposed to be modeled after a rotary, but that doesn't necessarily mean is a good representation of a piston engine versus a rotary, probably just because I was just going based on concept alone when making this. But anyway, I'm not really here to talk about that. Let's get back to the Miata, and I don't know, I think our comparison is a bit of a failure. This car is just better. So a short course like that is one thing, but a track like this is another. This is the Hiroji Speedway. Let's go ahead and try out this not a Miata, which is effectively now what its name is. I'm going to rev it all the way up to 9k, and then take off. That LSD actually holds us. But getting up to 50 kilometers an hour, that's the end of first gear. Oh yeah, actually we are flying pretty good here. More open straights are better for this car for sure. Yeah, I'm still using a controller, but my goodness, it's actually, like, if you can keep it high in the RPMs, it's genuinely fast. It's a lot of fun. Okay, maybe it's a bit above my driving capabilities, however most cars are. Oh yeah, get ready for your showcase car to be driven by me, by the way. That's going to be interesting. Thank goodness they're key cars this time, because that's making them a little bit easier to drive. If you want to see some of my driving failures, you should definitely check out some of the VODs of the old showcase cars, especially stuff like the drag race. That was a very interesting showcase. Alright, so it seems when I fail around a corner and I have to slow down too much, it definitely drops the ball on this car. You have to be high up in those RPMs, like as much as you can, and that's the only way to really make good power. Now, it does have 6 gears, but I have never gone into 5th or 6th in the time that I've been driving this, and it's been quite a few minutes at this point. However, we might actually be able to get up to it along this track here. I don't think 6th is actually going to be used unless you get over 200 kilometers an hour, but okay, maybe not even 4th or 5th. And the engine really likes to die whenever you go into some kind of accident, so just gotta keep that in mind. I guess that's what happens when you drop the RPMs too low in way too high of a gear. Like, it just doesn't even have enough torque to turn the wheels at that point once you have it in too high of a gear. Like, it just does not want to work. Alright, up into 4th gear here, flying down the straight at 130 kilometers an hour, and we're probably gonna have to make a few adjustments to that as we come around this corner. I do not claim to be good at driving at all, but I am trying. Okay, a bit of a sick drift here as I attempt to go with a different route on the track, and then I'm gonna try to go down into 2nd, and then hopefully fly through. Oh, I don't even remember what's happening on this part of the track. Okay, it's a bit of a slower section, which is fine. Still in 3rd gear, no problem. Gotta slow down for this chicane, and not bad. Not bad at all. So as long as you shift at the right time, like I was just doing around the corner there, you can actually get up some serious speed around the corners, and you can keep it as well. I kind of wish, like, I think if I was going to make this car again, goodness, I forgot to downshift there, but if I was going to make this car again, I would probably just make it lighter. I would keep it pretty much the same, just make the body out of carbon fiber or something, like make a full race version, and then just have it be much lighter. I think that would serve it a lot better. However, I think as is, it's a good semi-realistic example of what this can do, and even with 250 horsepower, it is quite quick. So, mission success on that. Alright, so we're here at the drag strip, and I want to go ahead and try this car on here, just because I want to see what it'll do in terms of a pass in comparison to some of the previous cars that I have, and we'll also race it against a few just to see what it'll do as well. I really like doing these drag races, you probably have noticed. Okay, I'm going to stay high in the RPMs and then just take off like that. It does stall a little bit off the line, however, things are moving pretty quickly once we get going, and you can see as we flow through the gears, it doesn't go below 6,000 RPM, which is really good. I think after this we should probably try the highway tutorial as well, because we can get up to some decent top speed. It seems weird, but this car is actually geared more for top speed than anything, which is probably a mistake on my part. And it's also geared to be able to fly away at the end of the drag strip. I think they put a ramp there on purpose because this destruction is always fun to watch. So we managed to make it underneath the stands and turn this not a Miata into a lowrider. And he can't escape either. Alright, let's do the comparison that we've already done once before. This car versus the Tradex. Unfortunately, it just did kind of die there, which is a little unnerving. Let's roll up to the line, and car's off. Ooh, okay, I might have jumped the gun a little bit there. I was a bit worried. Okay, that guy's gonna fly by me, goodness. Well, it's unfortunate that the car died just then, because Yeah, it wouldn't have mattered anyway. Well, okay, the Tradex is a little bit faster than I anticipated. 13.7 for that, 15.8 for me. Okay, let's try another car. And our next challenger is entering the ring. It's the Panther Alaska. Yeah, this one might be a bit of an interesting challenge. The game actually crashed when I tried to do this before, so I'm praying that doesn't happen again and that this Miata thing is not just breaking the game. Probably should have turned the cinematic camera off, but thankfully the car did make it. Okay, come on, just stay alive, please. That's all I ask. Oh, there we go. Rev it up, and... Oh no, am I gonna get slapped by this thing? It's front-wheel drive, come on. Oh no, it seems the weight of the not a Miata is holding us back. Oh no, I can't believe it. I'm gonna have to fight something even slower. 16.2, 15.5. Okay, maybe that was just a failure on my part. I'm gonna try that one more time, and then we'll take to the highways. Alright, this time I got it. This time I'm gonna make it. Let's not hang on any gears at all. Shift a little bit early, in fact. It seems I'm still gonna lose, but I do want to get another 15. That would be great. I'm definitely closing in a little bit this time, and 16.1. Oh boy. Alright, I'm pretty curious. How fast can we get going in this time trial? This is the highway challenge, so it's basically just straight all the way along, and then it's just kind of like an extended drag race. Although we can only race ourselves in this one, there's no opponent. So let's get going with this car. Hopefully we can crest 200 kilometers an hour. I am just hoping that that's the case. Up we go. Okay, that was a good start. I think I shifted a little bit too fast there. We'll probably have to try this one again anyways, just to, I don't know, try and see if I can do any better. It's about time, but for me it's about speed. I just want to get up to a good speed. Alright, let's see if we can get into that very infamous 6th gear, as it has not even been reached yet. 179, 180. Can I even get past 200? That would be a bit of a miracle at this point, perhaps. Oh, the finish is right there. Come on, car, you got this. And 200. Okay. It could be worse than that. 200 kilometers an hour is not slow. So looking at the table here, the Panther Circle Sport actually has a 40 second. And then Group C LRS is 27 seconds. We are, I don't know, just somewhere in the middle of all of the cars that I've run so far. That's not great. Okay, I'm trying it a second time here, and this time the start was equally not good, although for a different way. I'm very interested to see if this car can make up for any lost time there. I think our last time was 40 seconds, so I'm again hopeful that I can do better than that. I really think in hindsight probably could have gotten away with 5 gears instead of 6. Yeah, 6 is kind of just useless. Anyways, it doesn't really matter. It's a bit too late now. However, if we did lighten this car up, 6 might actually become useful. I didn't get enough speed that time, but I did manage to get another 141. Very close to that last time. Not too bad. And as we watch this car crash and destroy itself, as it comes to its inevitable end, here it is. The last of this vehicle. That was actually pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. I think the car itself is fine. It's not amazing, but it's not bad either. And the look of it actually is quite good as well. I was pretty happy with that. Sometimes I make cars and then I look back and I'm like, woo, that is hideous, but I don't have a choice. I just sometimes have to roll with it. In this case, not so much. I think it turned out okay. But anyways, that's it for this video. Let me know what you thought of this car and the other cars in this video as well, in the comments. As well, if you made it this far, you're probably going to want to subscribe. I do videos like this at least once every week, or potentially once every 2 weeks if I come up with another weird idea. There's a showcase coming up soon, and I've also got some interesting videos coming out later this week and next week as well. I'm pretty excited about it, in fact. I think it's going to be good, so yeah, look forward to that. And as I said before, this video is supported by those who have chosen to hit the join button down below. It's right next to the subscribe button. These people give up to $5 to support the channel, and all of my videos are supported by them, so I appreciate them a lot. We have Canadian Steel, Overlord, Dr. Ivo, That Rice-Stood Explorer, QT Bear, McLovin Plays, Terry Williams, Crypt Panzer, The Most Random Person, Justin, and 60 Cars and Stuff. Thank you so much for your support, and I appreciate it a lot. I'll see you guys again, and everyone else, next Saturday. It's going to be good.